All right, good afternoon. Hey, thank you so much for being here. It truly is an honor and a blessing to represent our 22,000 students, our 3,400 employees as I present the state of schools for you this morning. First of all, EVSC swept all of the Outstanding Educator of the Year awards again this year. So I'd like for them to stand, if you could hold your applause until after we've announced them. First of all, Brianna Campbell, from Lodge. Next, we have Jance Johnston, who was middle school recipient, but that's because he teaches sixth grade at Delaware Elementary. Then we have Mr. Tim Wilhelmus, an outstanding teacher for us at Central High School. And then last, but certainly not least, we have the Principal of the Year, Chris Gibson, Principal of New Tech. How about a great round of applause for these folks that change lives every day? Well, and since I've mentioned Chris, I think it's a great time to mention just a small group of kids at New Tech that didn't really do much. All they did was win the first robotics state competition for the entire state of Indiana. And we have them over there, but I'd love to introduce you to Betty, okay? Let's see if Betty will come on out. There she comes right now. So Betty was named for Betty Hawkins, who's been a custodian for us for 37 years. Bam, there you go. It's so cool because they also won the Judges Award because they named her for Betty. As I said, she's been a custodian for us for 37 years, but probably her claim to fame is she's 90 years young. Still going strong, you bet, wow. So thank you, congratulations to the robotics team. They just came back from Houston, Texas, where they competed in the World Championship. How about another round of applause for New Tech and Betty? Then also, National Merit finalists. Well, the qualifications for the National Merit finalists are based upon PSAT index scores. 1.5 million students started in that process. And in order to be named a National Merit finalist, you have to be in the top 1% out of 1.5 million. So I'm pleased to introduce you to you today, Blake Podwells from Central High School and Drew Claybrooks from North. Congratulations, we are so proud of you. Great job. All right, so the agenda this afternoon is really going to be in three small parts. I want to talk about the employment trends that we all face and those challenges, as well as the pandemic's impact on education. And then we'll round out the afternoon by talking about expanding opportunities for all. As I said, we are blessed to employ 3,400 individuals. That makes us one of the largest employers in this area. And you know what? We're not immune to the dynamics that you face. Everybody is struggling to find great talent and then to retain great talent. So specifically for education, just how did we get to where we are today? Well, when we talk about the education climate in Indiana, I want to lift two things. One is the divisive national discourse. And then the second component I want to talk about is education funding. Okay? So when we talk about that divisive discourse that really started out in the western part of the United States and then came into the Midwest, it actually came into the Indiana General Assembly, and it's actually right here where we live. Think about that divisive discourse. Well, I can tell you and I can promise you that some of the things that you hear, in fact, all of the things that you hear that are divisive, well, they are not going on in our classrooms. They're just not. And it's frustrating. And I want to also share this with you. Anytime somebody starts attacking our schools, make no mistakes, they're not just attacking our schools, they're attacking our teachers. And if you don't believe me, if you think that teachers don't take that personally, ask a teacher. Their job is already tough enough. They don't have to perform their job in that kind of divisive environment, always questioning what people are going to say about their noble and worthy efforts. And then I want to talk a little bit about education funding and its impact on funding or on education in Indiana. So this chart that you see is per pupil funding in the Midwest. Now, Indiana is that red line. And it's important to note that the Indiana General Assembly took over complete responsibility, 100% of the funding for the general fund in 2009. Prior to 2009, it was a combination of state funding and local property tax. So remember, anytime someone from the Indiana General Assembly says, well, we spend nearly half of the state's budget on K-12 education, that's right, because that's what they asked to do in 2009. Schools did not ask to do that. Okay? So I think you will see when that per pupil funding, that red line, you see where Indiana is, right? You see where it started, and you see where it is now. Well, Indiana per pupil funding compared to inflation, so we were looking at the red line. Now I want you to look at the blue line, because the red line is inflation. The blue line is Indiana per pupil funding. Look at what happened after 2010. Do I need to remind you what happened in 2009? Now, we did see historic levels of funding in the last biennium budget, but one increase in funding does not erase more than a decade of inadequate funding. So let's talk about salaries, because 98% of our education fund is spent on salaries and benefits. That's right, 98% of our education fund and budget is spent on salaries and benefits. So when you have inadequate funding for over a decade, that leads to Indiana having the lowest teacher wages in the Midwest. And think about this. I can look out and see Kentucky, and Illinois is about a 15 or 20 minute drive away. Think about how that impacts our competitiveness. So when we think about a national comparison, when we think about teachers throughout the nation, once again, Indiana is blue. We started out with a $6,000 deficit in 2013. That has now grown to over a $10,000 deficit when compared to national average. Once again, 98% of our education budget is in salaries and benefits for educators. This slide is depressing enough, but I could have put up there that Indiana was 51st in the nation. That's right, dead last when you include the District of Columbia for inflation-adjusted wages. Have we made the point? So what's the result of that divisive environment as well as inadequate funding for more than a decade? We simply have fewer teachers, and we have fewer teachers in the pipeline, because this chart represents completers in Indiana schools of education. That's a nearly 30% drop in just 5 years. So what's the Band-Aid? What's the fix for this? Well, the fix in Indiana has been to issue emergency permits. So those are for individuals that may have a bachelor degree but don't have a teaching license, or they may have a license in a different subject that we are asking them to teach. 6,200 emergency permits. I can't believe it, but that's the number of permits that were granted last year in the state of Indiana. That represents 1 out of every 10 teachers. And that's not just a phenomenon for public education folks. That is public, that is charter, that is private throughout the state. So, Indiana ranks 5th in the nation and 1st in the Midwest for climate and environment conducive for business. And we take great pride in that. And we should. But just like we've created that great climate environment for business, we have to make certain that we also have a climate and environment that is conducive and number 1 in the Midwest for education. We have to. How long can we remain first in business and last in education? So how are we navigating all of this? Well, this is how. In terms of recruitment, we used to recruit individuals once they had their degree, once they had their bachelor's or their master's degree and their teaching license. That doesn't work any longer. Now we are recruiting student teachers. And to help us do that, we're the first district in this region to actually pay student teachers for their student teaching experience. And after they do their student teaching experience with us, if we hire them, then they have a hiring bonus. So why did we go about it in that particular manner? That's because we know anywhere from 70 to 80% of the individuals that do their student teaching with us stay with us. I simply want to have a bigger pool of student teachers so that we can have more teachers that we have onboarded during their pre-service training. So how do we feed that pipeline? I think you know we have phenomenal innovative models, and we're adding another one next year. It's a great partnership with EVSC and with USI. We are going to grow our own. It's going to be the Academy of Future Educators. And upon completion of that academy, our students will have at a minimum of 18 college credits. They will be in a direct admit to USI's School of Ed. They will have saved over $13,000 on college tuition, and they will have already gained 150 to 200 hours of educational experience before they set foot on the college campus. So those items were just a few of the things that we're doing in terms of recruiting. So what about retention? I simply want to be the educational employer of choice, period. That's all I want. So we have to have the most supportive environment possible. We have to have opportunities for professional growth and for coaching and support. And we also need to offer advanced degrees either for free or for a greatly reduced cost. So I'm proud to announce that we have a great partnership with the University of Evansville where more than 30 of our teachers are going to get a master's degree in educational leadership completely free of charge to them. Yeah. So let's take a moment to listen to a video to hear about how we are supporting our teachers.
So we invest in PLCs and coaching so that our teachers and our students can be successful. Coaching is an opportunity for a teacher to work individually with a coach on a particular goal that they have. PLCs is an opportunity for teachers to come together to work collectively for student success.
I like being able to problem solve with other people, getting their opinions on different solutions that might work, or just opinions in general about what's working for our students, what's not working for our students, what can we do to push them, or what can we do to help them get to the level we need them to be at.
To be honest, I'm not sure how I survived 14 years without PLCs, and I'm not sure how we truly taught efficiently without them. I know we did, but the way we operate now, I cannot imagine going back to a model where we didn't have this time together.
In a previous district, when I worked up north, we didn't have PLCs, and so it made it more challenging to really know where our students were on. When I was up there, I was in third grade, so on the third grade level, what do we need to do to push our highs? What do we need to do to help our lows? Not having that collaborative discussion kind of, I think, hindered our ability to be stronger educators.
My coach is my main thought partner during the day. When we have our PLCs, my team brings our ideas together, and then our coach is able to dissect our ideas to better understand what our students need.
As an instructional coach, I'm working side by side with teachers through this partnership approach to help them get better in their classroom. We look at instruction, we look at goals, we look at strategies to get to our goals, and we basically learn from one another and try to do everything we can to better ourselves and the outcome with the kids.
Our ultimate goal at the end of the day is to make sure our students are successful and really achieving the goals that they have set forth for themselves, and that they're happy with what they are doing with their own education.
You know, I firmly believe that that kind of supporting environment, well, it simply helps us recruit and retain the best and brightest teachers. But the other benefit is it's also an incredible asset for our students. So I think we all know about the impact of the pandemic on just about every facet of life, and it's been well documented, the impact of the pandemic on education. I was pleased that EVSC was the largest district to be open each and every day for in-person instruction in the entire Midwest. And while that was incredibly beneficial to our students and our families and our employers, the increase in the achievement gap is real. And the pandemic really had a most severe impact on those underrepresented populations, and frankly, their recovery has not rebounded like other segments of our student body. So what you see right now, well, this is Indiana's achievement gap chart, and these are pass and proficiency rates of ISTEP from grades 3 through 8, broken out by or disaggregated by student demographics on ISTEP of 2018. You're going to see some blue lines fly in. What does it tell you? Because the blue lines represent iLearn results of 2022, after the pandemic. This is the gray before, the blue is after the pandemic. That, my friends, is frightening. And it's going to take years and years to make up. But we will make that up. And as I said, we were blessed to be open every day. These are state results. But everybody experienced that kind of learning loss. And frankly, I believe that the achievement gap becomes the employability gap. And we have to eliminate this disparity. So what are we doing to close and to eliminate that achievement gap? Well, we are increasing our investment in early childhood learning opportunities. Just like Evansville led the way decades ago for full-day kindergarten in the state of Indiana, Evansville also led the way in expanding opportunities for early childhood education. And this investment sets students up for success, not just in kindergarten, but also later on throughout their life. And because of this increased investment, we've seen enrollment grow by 250%. 250% growth in enrollment, and we now employ 136 staff members specifically for early childhood education. We'll talk to you a little bit about the science of reading. You know, we have 30 plus years of brain-based research dedicated to the learning of how students read. 30 plus years of brain-based research. But only 39% of our nation's university in the undergrad setting teach the 5 scientific principles of early literacy, and only 23% of grad schools teach it. So the result is our nation's teachers are not provided with the knowledge that they need to teach reading successfully to all students. So who does that impact? Well, it's an equal opportunity issue. Because 30% of the students that struggle to read come from households that have at least one parent that is a college graduate. So several years ago, we undertook a meta-analysis of outstanding programs in the nation in the university setting that taught the 5 basics or the 5 principles of early literacy. And we then put a cohort of teachers through that university to get master's degree or certifications in early literacy. And I'm also grateful that the Lilly Foundation recognized this disparity in our educational process, and the University of Southern Indiana and the University of Evansville, they're partnering together to embed the 5 scientific principles in their undergrad degrees for educators, and I am grateful for that. So now let's take a listen to what our teachers say about our work with early literacy.
Early literacy is teaching our kiddos how to learn how to read. And in order to give them the foundations and the confidence and success to be able to pick up anything that they want to read and be able to comprehend it, and that empowers kiddos. It's something that is a gift that we can give them that can never be taken away from them.
The science of reading is research-based. And so that is important. We always talk about how we want our best practices to be based upon research and not just, opinion or experience, but definitely have the research to back it up. And so with that, I also see the science of reading being sequential and giving you an order in which students should be learning those foundations, so we're not jumping here before we've built here.
Research changes always, and we're always looking for best practices, and within the science of reading, that research base is really focusing on how the brain learns how to read instead of just reading being something that we do with our eyes.
We learn through 3 different pathways. We learn through visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, and some kiddos need to have all of those senses engaged in order to learn how to read. We used to, years ago, have books and we would just read with our kids on our laps and they would just take to reading. Now we know that it's more complicated than that. We learn letter to letter to letter, and with fluency we start identifying those words. But in order to get to that point, we have to take small steps. So we recently established a relationship with Mount St. Joe University, and we have 20 teachers that have wanted to be a part of getting their master's or certificate in the science of reading. So that really supports what we've been learning about the brain and our new curriculum that supports the science of reading and structured literacy and connects all of those dots so that we can strengthen what is going on within all of our schools within the district, and it's a more cohesive approach.
After 26 years of teaching kindergarten, reading has really changed. When I think back to the years that I first taught reading, it was very simple, and it was a lot of trying to get children to read books without tools in their toolbox to actually read. And so now, after going through the program at Mount St. Joseph and learning more of what the science provides students and how the science teaches us to read, it is so much more important to get students to crack the code to read versus just pick up a book and try to figure it out on their own. So it is so interesting now to be able to see kids use those tools and read fluently at kindergarten level.
I am excited to work with teachers, and I actually have teachers who have already come to me wanting to learn more because I learned something within my class or at one of our cohorts, and I bring it back and share with them, and we're already talking about what we can do to prepare for next year starting now.
We know that with our kiddos, kindergarten through second grade and into third grade, that if we don't get them reading at their grade level by first grade, the chances of us doing that moving forward drastically drops. So we want to teach our kiddos, we want to learn to read so that we can read to learn. And in order to do that, we need to set those foundational skills up and get them reading.
The most amazing thing to watch students when they begin to learn how to read is when they make the transition from learning their letters and sounds to reading words. And when those kids put those letters and sounds together to make a word and realize that they can read, the light bulb goes off, the excitement is there. And when I see that with students, it is the most rewarding feeling for me to watch them be successful in their reading.
You know, I'm so excited that every single one of our elementary school students and our primary grade teachers are going to have access to that expertise. That warms my heart. So last year's State of the School was really broken down into 3 different segments, and we really did a very deep dive in GAIN. And if you will recall, GAIN is growth in academics through innovation and neuroeducation. And it really is the framework through which we align everything we do with how the brain functions. And this is GAIN in action. Executive functioning skills, well, like working memory and structured attention and self-control, they are the foundation. They're the foundation for student success. And not just students, but also employees. Executive functioning skills are vital in developing employability skills. And from day one, in all of our classrooms, we strive to improve those executive functioning skills that become the employability skills that everyone needs. So why specifically executive functioning skills? Well, executive functioning skills provide the neurological foundation that is so necessary to increase the cognitively complex tasks that we expect our students to take on. And the achievement gap, as I said before, becomes the employability gap. So it's not because our youth don't have cognitive capability. Frankly, it's quite the opposite. They are cognitively capable, but so many of our youth today don't have the neurological foundations that are so necessary for support. So I'm pleased that this spring we've piloted the Minnesota Executive Functioning Scale, and next year we'll roll that out, that assessment, to all of our kindergarten students, and for the first time, you will actually have benchmark for executive functioning skills for our students. And then we will utilize brain-based exercises that will actually grow and develop those executive functioning skills. And that, too, is exciting. You know, this isn't just because of the pandemic, but just to recap this section, we have to do this now more than ever. We have to make certain that every child has access to high-quality, early childhood learning experiences. We have to make certain that every child will learn by grade 3, learn how to read by grade 3. And we have to continue to educate the whole child so that they can take on those cognitively complex tasks, so that then they will be prepared for that post-secondary success that we desire for all of them to have. And I tell you what, I just had to put this in there because just a few weeks ago we received the announcement that we had been designated as a promised neighborhood, one of only 3 in the nation. So you might ask, well, how did Evansville receive that designation? 2 things: collaboration and leadership. Think about that. Collaboration and leadership. As I said before, I think communities take on the personality of their leaders. So I'm so appreciative to the mayor. And I also see Chris Petroskavich, Pres P, without the University of Evansville involvement, without them saying, no, this is part of our mission. We can't be a change maker organization as a university if we only stay on our campus. We need to change the entire community. Because of Pres P's environment, the application received a perfect score. Thank you, Pres P. Thank you, Mayor Winnicky. I tell you, folks, this is a cradle to career opportunity. It is a 2-generational approach. It is a once in a lifetime investment of $62 million. It will change lives in our community. That's worthy of another round of applause. Well, I tell you, this isn't just about eliminating the achievement gap. This has everything to do with our work in terms of expanding access and opportunity for all of our students. So I am pleased to announce that we are investing more resources and we are expanding high ability. Just like we did a cohort for early literacy, we are also doing a cohort now for high ability. So we will train teachers through Indiana University, please Pat, through Indiana University. And then we will have a high ability specialist teacher at each and every one of our elementary schools. And we will combine that with the implementation of our world-class high ability curriculum. And I'm excited to say that to launch this reinvestment in high ability, we have partnered with the University of Evansville on their campus. This summer will be a summer STEM camp exclusively for our high ability students. Thank you again, Pres P. So the result of this work is that elementary high ability enrollment is up 14%. But it doesn't just stop there. Our enrollment in honors math in the middle grades is increased to 54%. Now, just as I've mentioned a few opportunities in elementary and middle school of increasing rigor and high expectations for those students, we also have 32 advanced placement courses for our high school students. And that's so important because research shows that students who take just one advanced placement course, well, they are more likely to attend college and to graduate on time than their peers who do not take advantage of AP courses. So, a little bit of audience participation here. On the right-hand side, you're going to see student indicators that predict success in AP. And then you see the percentage that is associated with that particular indicator. So let's just see what is the strongest indicator of success. We'll go from the bottom up. The least predictive indicator, test scores. Of course, that's how we grade our students in schools. Next, prereqs. Next, GPA. Next, teacher quality. We have 2 left, subject interest and motivation. What do you think? Subject interest, the big one, motivation. Kind of tied into executive functioning skills too. So many people in this audience were kind enough to fund, for the last 4 years, our effort to increase students participating in AP courses. So you will see here on this chart, 4 years during a pandemic, that we increased total AP enrollment by 135%, and underrepresented student enrollment increased by 250%. Now you may be thinking, hey, that's great, you got them to class, now what are you doing with them? Here's what we're doing with them. 4 years during a pandemic, Total AP credits earned, success in the class, increased by 136%, and credits earned by underrepresented students increased by 180%. So when we think about why we're growing high ability in elementary school, why we are exposing more students to honors math, it's simply because we know when we challenge our students, they succeed, and frankly, because we know how to help our students be successful. So one more video. Let's listen to students and teachers talk about the importance of AP.
Advanced placement are college-level courses that are offered in high school. So our students are able to really get access to that college-level curriculum while having all the supports that we provide in the high schools. So we're able to help them with the pacing, time management, and study skills before they're on to that next step of their life.
We've had several that have come back and said, you know, my first 2 years were a breeze. It was everything we did in our AP classes in high school. So I feel almost over-prepared when I get there, so that makes that transition a lot smoother for kids. And I think that's a big thing for our community as well. When our kids are going to college and feeling confident in what they're doing and they feel like they can be successful, and then they bring that back into our community, I think that's a really positive thing for our school, for our kids, and really the entire community.
I plan on either going to Indiana University or Louisville, and I'm going on more of like a medical based route, so the push from AP classes and how fast it is and how rigorous the course is, I feel like prepared me more for going into like a medical based major, which is there's a lot of classes, a lot of hard classes, and I think it's just a better push than being in the regular classes.
I'm not aware of any other district in our region that offers the amount of AP courses that we do. We are extremely proud to be able to offer 32 advanced placement courses so that we can truly match their interest with high-level content and prepare them not only for college, but for the rest of life.
So I'm planning on either going to Purdue or Rose-Hulman for computer science or software engineering, and taking AP calculus and statistics is very good because it allows me to kind of get introduced to the more major math courses I have to take, like linear algebra and more advanced math courses, to better understand the theory behind the courses that I'm going to be taking within the computer science realm. Being a first-generation college student also, I don't really have any point of view to see what those classes are structured like and what the material is like. So having that opportunity to see that, it's very good. It also allows me to kind of kickstart that, especially going into a very math-heavy profession in college.
Over the past 4 years, we've increased enrollment in our advanced placement courses by over 135%. That means that we have significantly more students who are not only ready for college and career, but also have more advanced 21st century skills. When
that light bulb goes on and they start to see, oh, I can be successful here, that gives them the opportunity to maybe move in and have a little bit more confidence in the following year. And kind of what we've done is started with really one AP course in the sophomore year, and then the opportunity to go to maybe 2 or 3 as a junior. And then, we've had some that have taken as many as 4 or 5 as seniors. And so they build that confidence and definitely feel good going into college.
So when we talk about increasing access to opportunity, folks, that is exactly what we mean, and that's exactly what we're doing. So setting students up for post-secondary success is the primary goal of our opt-in strategy. We want our graduates knowing that there are incredible opportunities that remain for them right here in our community. So we also want folks to know that if they want to become a physician, well, we have a place for you here. If you want instead to go into a high-wage, high-demand career, well, we've got a place for you here. And over the last several years, we've developed incredible partnerships with the University of Evansville, USI, Ivy Tech, with Deaconess, with Berry Global, with Ameriqual, and with Toyota Motor Manufacturing of Indiana, just to name a few. And then on top of our opt-in program, we have incredible innovative models. And they are specialized, rigorous models for instruction and learning. And they are growing in enrollment. Why? Because we provide incredible opportunities beyond the classroom. So I want to take just a little bit of a deeper dive into our Medical Professions Academy. So MPA is a rigorous half-day program for freshmen all the way through senior years, and it's really for those students that are interested in a career in science or in a medical-related field. And I just want to share one incredible experience with you. About a month ago, students in MPA were able to be embedded at Deaconess Hospital for an entire week. They lived there for a week. They had 12-hour workdays. They had experiences that were incredible. They saw births and they saw death. And those typically are experiences that are reserved for first or second year med students. But our folks in the MPA Academy had those experiences as high school students, experiences beyond the classroom. The result, nearly 100% college going rate, 90 to 95% declare a major in the field of science or medicine, 80 to 90% earn a bachelor's degree or beyond. But you've heard me talk enough. I want you to listen to two of the MPA alumni talk about what MPA did for their post-secondary opportunities.
I'm Dalton Mills, and I graduated from MPA in 2019. Back in high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that I enjoyed science more than most other subjects. And I figured that healthcare was kind of the most direct route to apply my enjoyment of science to a career field. Probably the biggest factor was the type of coursework that we were doing. We took the Principles of Biomedical Science course as one of the first ones we took. We learned about like the heart functions. We learned like how to take blood pressure. We did dissections. All the classes that I took were of increasing difficulty, which kind of kept my attention. There was never like a stagnation in learning. Like it was always very challenging, which was something that I was drawn to. The entry level freshman and sophomore year of college, a lot of it is learning what we learned throughout those 4 years of MPA. But after that, it starts to differentiate, but you can still take the skill set that was learned from MPA into your, junior and senior years of college.
So I graduated from MPA in 2017, and currently I am a PhD student at Purdue University. I'm part of the PULSE program, which is their interdisciplinary life sciences program. My research topic is looking at the central auditory pathway, so kind of the brainstem, midbrain, and subcortical structures that contribute to auditory processing. Interestingly enough, when I was going to do my interview for my undergraduate university in the honors program, it was for their full tuition scholarship. And whenever I mentioned the Medical Professions Academy, immediate attention towards it. And they were like, tell me about it. And I was like, okay. So I went kind of through the list of like, deaconess and all the experiences, like the team building with Camp Carson, the coursework and whatnot. And everyone that I talked to about it was incredibly impressed. And I probably talked about it for a good like half of the interview, and just how that contributed to the focus and the motivation towards what I was looking for in my coursework at my undergrad school. And it also was brought up in my PhD interview as well. Just kind of looking back, they kind of were like, oh, so like tell me kind of like all about you. And I told them about the Medical Professions Academy, and there was interest even there, even though it was 5 years ago, So it's just very interesting, and everyone is very impressed by everything that we're doing here.
I think it's pretty easy to see why enrollment continues to grow there. And stay tuned, because there's going to be a very exciting announcement in the near future about the Medical Profession Academy. So my purpose and my prayer today was that you would see that I'd be able to show you just some of the work that we're doing each and every day, from pre-K all the way up to post-secondary. We strive to improve each and every day, and we want to make certain that each and every one of our students has the opportunities to be successful. And as you can see, we absolutely do have incredible opportunities for all of our students. So I think that's important. These are your kids. They're your grandkids. They're your nieces, your nephews. Maybe they're your neighborhood's kids. Maybe they're your neighbor's grandkids. Maybe they're your employees' kids and your employees' grandkids. Well, I don't know about that. One thing I do know, each and every one of them is our child. And they deserve to grow up in a state that is number one in education. They truly do. And they deserve our collective best. You know, I've said every time I've been blessed to stand on the stage, I struggle to think that you can have a vibrant community without a vibrant public school system. Now, I'm convinced now more than ever that those two go hand in hand. Look at those smiles, my friend. They are the reason I'm blessed to be your superintendent for the EVSC. Thank you so much for your attendance today. Thank you. Take care. God bless.